Hi, folks, and welcome. It looks like we are officially live. It's so great to see you all joining today's program. Welcome, welcome. We'll give folks about another 30 seconds to join today's live stream and get settled in. But it's so great to virtually see you all. I know that you're all out there, but I'm really excited for today's program, and I hope you are too. We have a really great one lined up. But as we're waiting for the last few folks to join us, why don't you go ahead and say hi in the YouTube live chat, introduce yourself, say where you're watching from, and during today's program, we can give you a shout out too. So, all right, welcome everyone. It's so great to see you all join us today. Welcome, welcome. All right, excellent. Well, let's go ahead and officially get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to an exciting Labside Chat with the Seymour Marine Discovery Center. My name is Jen, and I will be your host for today. If this is your very first time tuning in for a Labside Chat, we are so happy that you're here to help set the stage and to tell you a little bit more about what you'll see. Today's program gives us a great opportunity to have a Q&A style discussion with a scientist from UC Santa Cruz to really figure out and discuss how scientific research plays a role in the conservation and understanding of the world's ocean. Like I said earlier, we have a great program lined up for y'all today because we have the pleasure of talking with and asking questions to Ando Rabearisoa, who is a Ph.D. candidate here at UC Santa Cruz in the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology department. I am thrilled because her research area of expertise is something that I am actually most interested in. So I might be a little bit biased for today's program, but Ando is a passionate practitioner and highly engaged researcher, convinced that an economic system respectful of social and conservation issues is the key solution for the sustainable development in developing countries. Her research focuses on the importance of locally managed marine areas and reducing poverty and increasing conservation efforts in least developing countries. Ando, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you also, Jen.
Awesome. So like I said, I'm so looking forward to asking you lots of questions and learning more about your research. But before we dive in, I do have a couple of big thank yous and housekeeping items right up top for everyone that is tuning in at home today. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who submitted questions in advance for Ando that I will most definitely be asking during today's conversation. Y'all are so awesome and submitted so many great questions, and I hope we will have time to get to all of them in our 20-25 minute discussion during today's program. However, if you didn't get the chance to submit a question in advance, not to worry at all. You can always submit a question in real time in the YouTube live chat box there, and we'll be able to answer those as well. So, Ando, I hope you're ready. There's lots of great questions from community members your way. Let's go ahead and kick this off, shall we?
Yes, we can go.
Awesome. So I think the question on everyone's minds that folks are really interested in is, what is a locally managed marine area? Can you define that term for us, please?
Yes, so locally managed marine area, or LMMA in shorten, it's a coastal area that is managed partially or wholly by local communities. So it's a kind of marine conservation tool that involves the local communities.
Awesome. And so some of us here in Santa Cruz or the surrounding cities, or someone who may live next to a coast, might be familiar with state managed marine protected areas or federally managed marine sanctuaries or monuments. So can you tell us a little bit more about how locally managed marine areas are different?
Yes, so locally managed marine areas are developed in most of the time developing countries, like countries in the South Pacific, Southeast Asia, or East Africa. That's the three hotspots of LMMAs around the world. So the local communities are living in this area very near, and they decided when they saw the depletion of resource, they decided to be involved more and take initiatives to conserve their resource. So that's how it started.
Yeah, so how it started. So it's really good to know the backstory about the motivation behind creating these locally managed marine areas. But can you tell us a little bit more about how these areas are formally created? Is it a grassroots effort? Is the government involved? Is it just the community coming together? What does that process look like?
So at the beginning, it's local communities coming together. They decided that they want to create some conservation tools. And then when they start their initiatives, the government, of course, is more than happy to help them because, as you know, the governmental resources are not enough for conserving all the ocean areas around the world. So they get support from government, but also from other institutions that are working in conservation, like NGOs or national agencies. So that's how the LMMA started. It's a local initiatives at the beginning.
Yeah. And you told us that these locally managed marine areas, there's, three hot spots around the world where we see these being implemented and managed. Can you tell us a little bit more about how big they are and how far off the coast these areas can be? Like, for instance, do they start right at the high tide line and they go off offshore, or are they really, really far offshore? Kind of like where around in the ocean are they located and how big can they be?
From now, there are some 1,817 LMMAs around the world, and it covers about 13% of the coral reefs around the world. So it's compared to other conservation initiative, perhaps it's not bigger, but it's small areas. So it's a very expanding areas around the world. It started about 20 years ago, and it's always increasing. So it's expanding, and the size of the protection is really increased now. Most of the time, it's not far from the coast. It's really in the near shore area. So they protect coral reefs, they protect seagrass, they protect mangroves. So it's near the coast now. But they are thinking of more protecting and going more in the deep ocean now.
Right, right. Awesome. Well, I know that those ecosystems are so incredibly important. And so earlier you said that the community came together because there was a degradation of different resources. So can you tell us a little bit more about what was happening and why these locally managed marine areas came to be? Like, what was the problem that was happening?
The main problem is first the depletion of marine resources, especially the fisheries resources. So these people are living from the ocean resources. They are fishers. They are people who are taking some mangroves perhaps for their living. They are taking crabs. So all their subsistence get depleted. So they were thinking, why our resources, why our income are decreasing? It seems that it's always decreasing. And some of them thought that it was demography, that the population is increasing, so there are more people exploiting it. But in some areas, they think, no, it's not. We are still the same since the 19th. So our area, our demography is not increasing as in urban areas. So it's not a question of demography. Perhaps it's more a question of conservation and management of the area. So they decided to conserve it like that. They closed some area for fishing during some times, and then they open it again, and then they make some rotational closures. That it means that the closures are not always the same. They rotate it, but there are also some management of fishing gears. So there are some gears that are not allowed in the LMMAs. So it's a combination of several conservation tools, several initiatives to protect the ocean. And I think it's one of the best management, because the objective is better manage the people impact on the ocean. So it's not only conserving an area, it's trying to manage the people actions in the area.
Right. So, these locally managed marine areas and the communities that are managing these areas, it seems like there's a big connection there too. And I touched on this a little bit about in your bio, but I'm curious how a locally managed marine area can relate to sustainable development in these communities. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, LMMAs have impact on the fisheries abundance. It has impact on the fishing effort, and then it has impact on the reduction of poverty. And I think that's the most important impact of LMMAs. So I can say that globally, LMMA have impact on the United Sustainable Development Goals. Perhaps the first one, reduce poverty, also the 14th one on conserving marine resources and conserving ocean, but perhaps also on the food insecurity, because the management of the LMMAs make the resource more really reliable, so they know how to get the fish, and they know when there is some fish because of the management. So it's very important to reduce poverty, reduce food insecurity, and improve the conservation of the ocean and the marine resources.
Mm-hmm. And I have to assume that there is, definitely science and lots of data that needs to go into developing a locally managed marine area. So can you tell us a little bit more about the type of science that you are doing to perhaps figure out maybe the best place to put an LMMA, or to how to create a management objective within a community? Like, what does that data collection look like for you?
Yes, at the beginning, it started with a marine expedition. So a big marine expedition in the area to identify the size of the coral reefs, the size of the area to protect, and how diverse it is. It starts with that. Then when we ask the local communities which place they want to protect, most of the time, it's really wonderful that they know where are the most important ecosystems and endangered ecosystem in the area. So they know where they are protecting, where they want to put the closures, and which species they want to protect. It's an amazing consideration. I never believe that when I'm coming with them, they know exactly, okay, we are protect this area, it's very important. They can't explain that, but they know that it is important, and it's amazing. So we start with expeditions and biological assessment, and then we discuss with the communities which place they want to protect, and then we confirm with them about what kind of system perhaps is better for this area to conserve. Perhaps it's a question of gears management. Perhaps it's a question of closures. Perhaps it's a question of completely no-take zone.
Yeah. Wow. So it sounds like, you are so you're working with these communities and you're incredibly involved and you're including them in these decision-making processes. Can you tell me a favorite experience that you've had in the field so far working with these communities to develop these LMMAs?
I think the very exciting moment for me was almost at the end, because I convinced my boss at that time that these communities need green energy. And my boss said at that time, okay, Ando, we are not an energy provider, but I managed to find money about that. And when I left, because I come here in Santa Cruz, some people write to me on Facebook, your boss acknowledged you when you are not there, but when they started to open the green energy in the area, they said, she's not here, but she is the one who thought about that. So I think that's a very memorable moment for me in my career, because I'm someone who always have some unexpected idea, but at the end it's working.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's great. And so can you tell me a little bit more about how you became involved in this field and how you became involved of working with communities to develop locally managed marine areas? It sounds really fascinating, and I would love to know if it was always something you were passionate about, or if it was something that was a light bulb moment later on in your career.
Yes, as you know, I'm from Madagascar, so it's a hotspot of biodiversity. Most of the time, people knows Madagascar as lemurs and forest and the terrestrial conservation of Madagascar. And sometimes the marine conservation is a bit unknown, although we are an island, we have many species that needs to be protected, like whales or sharks or sea turtles, many species. But people don't know really about that. So I decided to engage in conservation when I was young, very teenager. I visited a protected area and I said, I want to work in this area. And then for the marine conservation, I realized, why are people always talking about conserving the terrestrial forest? But we need to protect the conservation, marine conservation area also. And it started like that. And for the communities, I used to work to do some surveys among the communities about their lives, some socioeconomic surveys. And I realized that these people have many needs and also many potentials. They can do a lot of work, they can do a lot of things, but they need support for that. So that's how I decided to choose locally managed marine areas as my research topic.
Yeah. And I understand that you used to work at Conservation International Madagascar for about 10 years, I believe, or maybe even a little bit more.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the work that you did there?
Yes, I was a marine program manager at Conservation International. So I started with conservation researches, and then I established a marine protected area there. And then I worked with communities to establish locally managed marine areas. And an important challenge I think I have is to convince the communities to be part of the conservation initiatives. But when they decided, it was a great success. And I always appreciate this moment when they created a network of LMMAs in Madagascar. That was one of the important moments also of my career.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And so how many locally managed marine areas would you say that you helped launch and put into action?
I mainly work with my communities in the area of northeast of Madagascar, but with the creation of the marine network, the LMMA network in Madagascar, we have about 200 LMMAs now in Madagascar. So the initiative is expanding because the local communities are sharing experience between them, and then they are initiating more. They are training more local communities, and it's really helped for the expansion of LMMAs in Madagascar.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. And so for someone that may live far away, or who may live in a landlocked state, or may not even be close to the ocean at all, but is really wanting to support your work and what you do and help to support, you know, the development or the creation, or helping to promote the idea of locally managed marine areas, how can someone get involved with that? Or how can we help you with your research? Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks who want to be a part of the solution or want to help?
Yes, I think the advice now is about the monitoring, and that's why I'm doing. As you said, we need data about the monitoring of these LMMAs in Madagascar, and that's really what I need support for now. I'm doing researches on the socioeconomic part, but I'm at the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology department. So I would need support now to conduct the biological monitoring and the evaluation of the impact of LMMAs in Madagascar now.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry. That leads me to my next question, is the monitoring aspect of this. So these LMMAs are created and developed, and you have to monitor them for time afterwards, right? So when you're monitoring these areas, what exactly are you looking for, and how long do they have to be monitored for?
Yes, so when we are monitoring, we are thinking about the impact first. So does it improve the ecosystems? It means the coral reefs, the mangroves, the seagrass. Does it improve the species richness, like sea turtles or fisheries, or over migrant species like whales or rays? And then the other assessment is about also the success of the LMMAs in terms of perhaps reducing poverty, improving the local communities' well-being, and especially improving their wellness and all this kind of best practice also. So it's really important to assess the biological aspect, the economic and social aspect.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I know some folks that are watching at home are aspiring marine scientists, and they're looking at you as someone who is doing really incredible work around the world and in their community to make the ocean a better place, as well as the surrounding communities. Do you have any advice for these aspiring marine scientists as they proceed into their career and are also looking to make an impact?
Yes, I think my advice is that, as I said at the beginning, local communities are very active and powerful conservationists. We know the science, but they know the place, they know the area, and they know the trends of the conservation aspect in this area. They know how it evolves, how it's getting, if there is improvement, if there is depletion. So the trends they know. So they are very powerful conservationists, and they should be partnered. If you're doing researches, the best way to conduct that is to have in the local communities as partners.
That's great advice. Wonderful advice. So we only have a few more minutes left, but I have a few quick questions left for you. And I wanted to ask if there are any conservation myths or flim-flam or just little white lies that are floating around in the world that you finally want to put to rest.
Yes, I think I can say that science and conservation are not only about people who are scientists who study it. Conservation is also the power of local communities, but also people who are not involved in this area, because they can help us in many ways that we can't imagine. Especially the people in, for example, in the terrestrial part, they can help us for the governance and also help us to reduce the sedimentation, for example. So everybody is involved, needs to be involved in the conservation area.
Yeah, I love that. Everyone gets involved. It's not just the scientists, it's everyone. Incredible. Yes. All righty. So Ando, my last question that I have for you, that I ask every single scientist that comes onto this Labside Chat program is, what is your favorite part of your job? Or has there been any favorite parts of your career thus far?
My favorite part of the job is when for example, after closures, we are doing the monitoring of the fishing catch. That's what the most important. I love that when I saw so many fishes, so many catch, and the fishers that are so happy to take it. Look at my what I catch after the closures. It's fun. Look at that. It's really big. I'm going to have a lot of money today. So that's the word. I think that's the most memorable moment that I have, and it's always renewed. I do it every year, but every year it's always the same engagement, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that insight with us. It sounds really incredible. And somehow we are out of time, and I have thousands of more questions lined up for you. I wish I could talk to you for 3 more hours about the work that you do, but unfortunately we just don't have the time to do so. But do you have a place online, social media, or a website where folks can go to learn more about you and your research?
Yes, so you have my Twitter account. It's my name, so you can find it on Twitter. And there is also the website of my lab, which is the Conservation Action Lab at the UC Santa Cruz. You can find it online also.
Wonderful. Well, I just dropped both of those links right into the chat so folks can easily access them there. I'll also add those to the video description below after we wrap up our conversation today, so folks will be able to go to those websites and social media handles as well to learn more about you and your research. But Ando, it was such a pleasure talking to you and learning more about what you do. I really can't thank you enough for being here today.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's an honor also for me to be here, and I really enjoyed this moment of sharing my research with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And before we sign off today, I want to also send another huge thank you to everyone tuning in today. It's supporters like you that make these online programs possible. So if you are in the position, I ask that you please consider making either a donation with the Seymour Center or becoming a member with the Seymour Center. You can find more information on our website, seymourcenter.ucsc.edu, or go ahead and click on the links in the video description below. So believe it or not, the Seymour Center is taking a short hiatus from the Labside Chat program for the next couple of weeks. So we won't have a Labside Chat program lined up for a little while, but not to worry at all. Not to worry, we have tons of other virtual programming and in-person programming that is available to you. So as always, please check out our online calendar for events and programs that you can participate in, or sign up for our e-newsletter to receive the most up-to-date announcements of what's to come. All of that information can be found on our website or in the video description in the links below. But thank you again, everyone. We greatly appreciate all of you. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.